Hello everyone, welcome to All About Paris. Today I will be showing you the 15th arrondissement, which is the 15th district of the city. Now I'm just getting out of the line 12, which is one of the lines that goes by the 15th arrondissement. As you can see, there's a lot of people because we are in a rush hour right now. Everybody's getting out of their work. So you can see that in this one we have a connection with the line 6th and the 12th. You just heard, as in any other metro, in any other big city, usually you have 1,000 times per day on the speakers, people telling you what to do, what to be careful for, etc. And that's something you, particularly in Paris, hear a lot. In other big city metros, I actually haven't heard that often. Maybe in New York, but here it's interesting because obviously they do it in many different languages, and that can be really tough, I guess, after you listen to it 1,000 times. But well, it's part of it. So now we found our way out. That's the line 6 for the connection. And now we'll be able to get outside so we can see this great and interesting district. So as you probably saw before, this is the 15th arrondissement. This is a station called Pasteur, from Pasteur, the scientist. And it's actually because at this point, if you can see to the right, that's Institut Pasteur, so the Pasteur Institute. And as you can imagine, that's where Pasteur had his science lab, and that's where he did all the research necessary in order to come to bring to life wonderful discoveries. La pasteurisation, which is the process of, for example, used for milk. And this is right where you will see a lot of people and movements in this area. Today is a Tuesday. This is the springtime, luckily, and we actually are at a temperature of about, I'd say, like 11 degrees Celsius. So it's a very nice and comfortable temperature right now. As I mentioned before, it's about 7 p.m., which means that people are getting out of their jobs, going back home, picking up some food. Because in France, people start to work later during the day, but actually people also, those patisseries are really great. They look very fantastic, don't they? So people start to work very late, and well, I mean very late, but usually like 9:30, 11. It depends of the kind of job, of course, but most of office jobs are at that time. But it also means that people get out of their jobs later, about like 6:30, 7, and if you have a lot of work to do, it can go longer. But that's how it is in the city. For people that have administrative jobs and office jobs. Now we're walking through Rue de Vaugirard, which is Vaugirard Street, and this is actually the longest street in the city, and it goes from south to north in the left bank. Actually, the 15th is in the left bank, and it's between the 14th and the 7th. As you probably saw already, there are a lot of babies in this district. The 15th arrondissement is the largest district in the city of Paris, if you count the space in which people live, because there are other districts that are larger, for example the 12th and the 16th. If you take into account the two big parks, which is Bois de Boulogne, Bois de Vincennes. But in this case, if you don't count the parks, then actually the 15 is the largest, and it's the most populated district in the city. This is one of the districts that it's not really very touristy. Again, more patisseries. I apologize, but every time that I see them, I really go for it. But as I was saying, this actually is one of those districts that it's not very touristy, I would say. There are things to see, a lot of things to see, but it's more of a local vibe, and it's more of a middle class, upper middle class neighborhood. It's not as diverse as other districts in the city, but it's been changing because now I have to say there's a big concentration. Historically, there has been a big concentration of hospitals and universities have started moving here, so you can see a lot of students, and buildings usually are large apartments because since a long time ago they've been catering to higher incomes. One of the good things of having a neighborhood with a lot of babies is that you find a lot of food, and in this district you find a lot of supermarkets, a lot of stores that specialize, as you will see later, in fruits and cheese and wine, because when you have babies you need a lot of food around, not wine obviously, but other kind of foodstuffs, and that's a very positive thing about this district. Many tourists also decide to stay in this part of the city because it's cheaper in terms of the price that you pay per night for one room. So now we are in the intersection between Rue Campon and Rue de Vaugirard. And Rue Campon is actually a very small street, but it has a lot of stores. It's one of the more commercial street sections in this district. If you can see the end of the screen in the center, it's actually part of the Eiffel Tower, because one thing that most of people that don't live in the city don't know is that actually the 15 is great for having wonderful views of the Eiffel Tower. and especially without a lot of people around because there are not many tourists. Wow, that was crazy. That was very, very crazy. Somebody just got almost run over. But we are at Place of General Buret, and it's a little tiny square that is quite cozy. Very beautiful. It's like, it feels a lot like a neighborhood. I used to come here and see it for like summertime, springtime, because it has a very beautiful Wallace fountain. And then there's all these trees that right now in springtime they change the leaves. So now we're turning in Rue de Vaugirard, and this part of the 15 is called Vaugirard, and this neighborhood used to be a town outside of Paris, but the moment the city grew up a lot, then it was integrated to the city, and now Vaugirard, that used to be a town where you get all or most of the material for building the Haussmannian buildings. It's actually part of the city of Paris. What I can usually see is that there are a lot of buildings with wonderful architecture, because as I mentioned before, since they were catering to higher incomes, usually there are definitely very beautiful buildings in this area. My objective with these videos is trying to show you the real city of Paris. I could edit things and try to put you the postal card pictures of the city or the best part of the city. And for me, the most important is that you can see the real Paris, how real Parisians live. And this is a very beautiful city with wonderful things to do, but also it's a city where there are millions and millions of people from all over the world, and then you can find all the different experiences and situations. So if I can show you that life and situation of the city through my videos, that's gonna be my main objective. Even this district being the most populated one, still it's very big. So there's about more than 200,000 people living in this district. So it's like a city. And that is interesting is that you actually can see fewer people, less density than other neighborhoods in the city. And it's cool because it feels like freer. And I know that I mentioned a lot about less or more people, but when you live in such a dense city as this one, that's a factor that you take into account very often. This is the building for City Hall of the 15th arrondissement. Remember I said there are different city halls by each district. Since there are 20 districts, 20 arrondissements, there's one in each one. And this is the one for this one. And as you can see, they have the flag for the coming Olympic Games. Look at the blue. Look at the blue in the sky. It's actually something that you don't see very often. So that's why people are more interested in going out today, because even if it's not warm, it's sunny, and right now it's about like 7:16 p.m. and still you can see that the summertime is approaching. In the central squares of each city in France and in many countries in Europe, you will usually find a monument that is dedicated to the soldiers that died during the First World War in 1914 and the second in 1930. So this is the one for the 15th arrondissement. And as you can see, it's a representation of some soldiers, as is usually the case, or usually you find one monument with the names of the people that perished during one of those wars, and they identify the names so that the people in the commune, the village, or the city remember who are those that sacrificed. Now we're crossing Rue de Vaugirard, and this is one of the main streets also going from north to south in the left bank. So you can see it there to the right, to the left, sorry. In this one, it's a tiny, cozy street that is called Léon Séché, and it's quite cute. I like a lot because they make it for walking only, no cars are allowed. And then you find all these interesting stores, or a barber shop, or restaurants, and it's the main entrance, I would say, for one beautiful park of the 15th arrondissement, which is called a Square Saint-Lambert. Paris is a city that, when you make the comparison with other big cities in Europe, or, for example, cities in Germany, there are not many parks, there are not many green areas, because in Paris you have like small squares, while in other cities, for example, in the United Kingdom, they had this kind of, like, I would say, law where there was a ring of green around every city, so that they didn't grow as much as was desired. But in Paris, you find outside the large parks like Bois de Vincennes, Bois de Boulogne, you don't find like a lot of green parks with forest in it. That's why it's so important to have this kind of square that I have to say they're beautifully take care of. So when you come here for summertime, there are a lot of people laying down, taking the sunlight, enjoying themselves, because it's a nice park which is really empty, and there are not a lot of people visiting from outside the city. So it is nice, I have to say. They have these palm trees, if I could call them like palm trees. They're I don't know how they survive during the winter time. They must be very resistant, but they actually have them all the time. In this district, you can find a population of people that are from Korea. So they are from Korean origin, and that's why you find a lot of restaurants and a lot of spaces that have Korean food. And if you pay attention to the size of the video, then you will see that there are many delicious Korean restaurants. If you see the end, probably there are high rises, big buildings, skyscrapers, because this area was transforming, and in that part of the city you had, for example, the Citroën Park, where they did the Citroën cars, and all that area redeveloped, and it's one of the few areas of the city where you can see high rises right next to the Seine River. At some point I will show you that new area because it's interesting and it's very different to the expectations people usually have about Paris when they don't live in the city. But it's really nice to know. Anyways, this was a nice walk to show you a little bit of this large neighborhood and district, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So I will be posting more about this arrondissement in the future, and please let me know what things you'd like to see and discover. Until next time.